fellow Seawolves, I hope you all have something delicious in your cup today. I have English breakfast tea, of course, and I'm sharing it with you from the Indian Ocean. I'm really chuffed that you're all following my race. You know, this is an incredible sport and I'm in an incredible place. And oh my word, look, there's an albatross behind me there. And it's an absolute pleasure to share this. So thank you for all your support. Okay, you ready for this? 3, 2, 1, cheers. Now, who would have thought I would be sitting here in the bright sunshine, sharing a toast with you in this sort of weather? It's a little bit crazy, and I think everyone in the race is having a bit of a hard time at the moment with keeping to the north of the ice limit and the weather that we're getting as a result. I'm struggling a little bit today because we've got this huge swell coming from in front of me and not a lot of wind coming from behind. It's only about 10 knots of breeze. But you've got to make the most of these days. So I've done as much maintenance as I can. Been over, had a look for any wear and tear, done some repairs to sails, looked for chase, and then I've got all of my sails out on deck behind me, and they're clean out of their bags. I've checked them over, dried them all, and hopefully overnight the breeze is going to fill in again from that direction and we'll get going. I like the sun, but I kind of want to go in as well. See you later.
Well, that's nice, huh? I mean, makes it easy for me to start this video. How nice of Pip to make that little intro for us and show us around a little bit, straight from the Southern Ocean. It really kind of a sign of the times also, how far technology has come, huh? That's the first time, you know, in a race like this, that from a place as remote as there, they can still make, you know, satellite messages of this type of quality. Really something unique if you think about it. Anyway, I had also a really, I guess, thank you Elon for that. But I really had a nice conversation with Pip's team also yesterday, kind of talking about how she was doing. And yeah, for all you Pip fans out there, she's doing really well. You know, kind of like you could see in the video, not so much wind, so not quite what she expected, you know, in this phase of the race in the Southern Ocean. But you know, to rest assured, some more wind will come eventually, though probably not in the next few days. We'll get into that a little bit more. But she's doing really well, and personally from her, you know, really wanted me to tell all of you to say once again that she was very thankful, you know, for the messages that we put there, and for the support in the moment when she was having a bit of a tough time. So you know, I guess thanks to all of you for, you know, doing that together and just you know, see what it led to. So I think really cool, and well done to all of Seawolf for making such a cool thing happen. So then for the rest of the show, the Jules Verne is heating up. Fast, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And I also had a very nice conversation with Sam Davies yesterday, and I kind of want to start with that because there is something really impressive going on in here. So basically we don't know exactly what Sam hit. Sam doesn't know what she hit, but the accident was quite catastrophic in the sense that she herself was also really flung through the boat. The boat is currently on the hard, so it was hauled out yesterday, and they checked all the damage. So there was a bunch of damage that obviously they could see, from both the inside and by swimming under the boat. But they couldn't see into certain parts of it, and so yesterday was the first time when they actually took the keel out to assess the rest of the damage. But for now, at least, you'll also hear Sam say that herself, they're optimistic that they're able to fix it, and they kind of put a little bit of deadline on the time, or at least made an estimation, and it looks like with the fact that GRP has to harden, and all the different times, of course, that they calculated for the repair, that likely maybe Monday or Tuesday the boat will be ready for some sea trialing again, and then hopefully they can make very quick steps to get her back on the, not in the race, but back on the race course herself. So really impressive that she is really pushing this drive forward. And so the conversation that I had with Sam yesterday was via phone, because she's so running all over town that we weren't really able to do a Zoom or anything like that. But I want to show you a few pieces of the conversation, because I think that we need to, as Seawolves all together, take a little action on this, if you get my meaning. So listen to this. How are you yourself, doing and recovering from the crash? Because as I guess you, like you said, you probably cracked or bruised maybe some ribs.
I've got very sore ribs, and it's a bit frustrating. So it makes it difficult to sleep, and obviously it's pretty tiring, the Vendee Globe. So I'm trying to make the most of having a real bed in a hotel room and to sleep, but ribs are a bit painful, but there's nothing you can do about that. My doctor's been helping, advising me, and I've got some painkillers, and he's just like, you have to be patient, and it's nothing life-threatening, and my boat's got sore ribs too, so we make a good pair.
Yeah, definitely. And do you know, have you been able to more or less determine everything that's broken, or is it still being processed now as you hold out, making sure that it's manageable to get it all done within a reasonable time, I guess?
Yeah, it's all underway. Obviously, there's bits that we could get on with in the water, and then there's obviously a whole part of the surveying that needs to be done once we've taken the keel out, which we need to take out for the repairs to be able to take place, for the visible damage that we've already found. And so obviously we've been surveying and checking. We have our surveyor, and our insurance sends another surveyor. So there's a lot of people here to make sure that we haven't missed any collateral damage elsewhere in the boat, to make sure that I'm confident that when I go back out there, the boat is solid. So there's a lot of work going on. So far we haven't found anything more really than what I found when I was out there. So that's positive. But as I said, we're literally, the boat's just hanging off the crane right now. The guys are adjusting the cradle, so we haven't taken the keel off, and there's a lot of checks that still need to be done, but they'll get done pretty quickly. So in the next day and a half, hopefully, I should have all the answers to be able to be sure to make the right call. But I'm pretty optimistic that I should be able to get back out racing again. It looks like my boat is pretty solid.
Yeah, very cool. And so, what's your plan now for when you get back on the water again? Are you going to essentially, race it completely as you would have had you just continued, or do you think that you will, change some things, maybe, do it a little bit differently? What are your ideas on that?
It's a good question. First of all, obviously I skipped myself shitless when I had the crash.
Yeah.
So a big part of me wanting to go back and carry on is because I know I need to kind of put some fear devils to rest, and so I know for sure when I first go out there, my foot will nowhere near the floor, and I won't be pushing my boat as hard as I normally do. I think I'll struggle to go fast psychologically to start with, and actually, obviously, I'm not the only one that's hit things in this area south of Cape Town, and so whilst I'm still in the Agula's current and its counter eddies, I don't think I'll put my foils in the water. That's for sure. And I definitely will restrain my boat speed until I'm safely out of this kind of danger zone, from what it seems like to me, and then slowly, hopefully, I'll be able to build my confidence back up again. When I go, I will probably be behind even the tail enders of the Vendee Globe fleet. But again, there won't be anyone around me in terms of kind of safety. I'm on my own, so but from that respect as well, there's no point taking any risks or pushing too hard. And I'm not in the race. I'm not in the race anymore. So for me, it's more about going back out there and getting over this crash. And finishing my adventure around the world with a lot less pressure than I had previously, and I race for a charity. Initiative Cœur is the name of the project, and Cœur means heart, and that's because I support a French charity that helps save kids' lives that are born in poor countries that don't have the facilities to provide their life-saving heart surgery, and the kids get brought to France and they get their surgery, and then they go back home to their families completely better to have a normal life. And my sponsors are donators to the charity in return for every follower that I have on my social media. So every time a new person comes on and follows the Initiative Cœur Facebook page, my sponsors give €1 to charity. And so the longer my adventure, and the more I keep going, and the more I keep sailing, then the more money we're going to be able to raise during the race. And so for me, it's really important as well, because I'm dedicated to this cause.
So you run your boat into something, actually probably severely bruise or perhaps slightly fracture one or two of her ribs, and your reaction is, well, I'm gonna get that boat into the water as soon as possible. Sleeping might be a little bit harder, but I'm gonna finish this damn race because I want to do it, for my sponsor, for the fact that I have this huge movement around me that's really trying to, achieve something in the world. I mean, what?
I never took a straight path nowhere. Life's full of twists and turns, bumps and bruises. I live, I learn.
Just amazing, right? And I think that really this deserves the Seawolf compliments, because this is a campaign, and I think what she's doing here to keep continuing the race, even though she's really out, but doing that for her campaign, for the charity that she's supporting, taking that risk, like you heard it in the interview with Peter yesterday, to go all the way probably behind the fleet, with really nobody there behind you to rescue you. Really, you're already very alone in the Vendee Globe, but to choose to be one of the latest people in the race and then go into the Southern Ocean like that, with essentially no chance to actually win the race or even participate in that way, really shows some I think, and I hope that you all agree, that this is definitely one of those things that deserves a Seawolf compliment, don't you guys think? So I put the link to her video on the top of the description. After this episode is over, click that link, slap a like on that thing, and put in the comments Seawolf ! And I'm gonna make it even more interesting for you guys, because I was already planning to do the first giveaway from the show here to all you guys, and to kind of extra stimulate everybody to take part. I'm going to tomorrow morning look at this video of Sam and see all the Seawolf everywhere, and I'm going to pick one of you for, let me get this here for you. So here it is. I guess you know, for those long-time viewers, you probably remember this. So in the video, when I explain about the sail plan of the Amacas and what are the different sails are and what is the difference between a gennaker and a spinnaker and a jib and a genoa, and you know, how are the reefs working on the mainsail, I made this kind of doodle, and there were a lot of comments by you guys about it, so I figured it would be kind of fun. So I actually put it in a nice list and signed it. And so genuine Seawolf show item, I guess. And tomorrow morning I'm going to go through all of the comments that include the Seawolf exclamation mark on this video of Sam Davies that I put here, you know, in the comments. And I'm gonna at random pick one of you guys, and I'm going to send this over, so you will have some genuine Seawolf show items to display on your wall, or perhaps in your boat. Who knows? You know, it's all up to you where you put it. But that's going to be our first on the show giveaway. So really looking forward to be able to send this to one of you. Doesn't matter where you're in the world. I will just you know, send it to you via trusted packaging service tomorrow. So you know, everybody, after the show, get to that link, slap a like on that, and let's all put the Seawolf compliment down there and push Initiative's Cur to get the boat in the water as fast as possible and get her back on the racetrack, supporting her amazing charity. Oh yeah, and so the fact that we are liking the video also has the added effect that her sponsor is paying her basically, so every time she gets a like, she gets a certain amount of money to put towards these heart operations, you know, for kids in country who basically need heart operations but cannot be operated there. And then they're transported to France, they get the operation there for free by this charity, and then they get brought back home all healthy again. So I don't think we could think of anything more amazing to support here. So that's it for the Sam Davies part of the show, and I just hope that she gets back in the water soon. Now let's get to actually the Jules Verne Trophee first, because we talked about that yesterday. Now take a look at this. So I mean, does that look like a big lead anymore? No, definitely not. So they're past the Kerguelen. Actually interesting to see, like if we look at the tracking map from the Vendee here, so you know, here's the Kerguelen, and if we go here, see where they are. So they're literally basically in the headpack now, like at the end of the headpack, about the same distance as VMB Mayenne, which is actually about, let's see how far they are, how many miles behind Apivia. So 669 nautical miles behind Apivia, but then a little bit more to the south is where Sudibu Ultim 3 is sailing right now. And even though for the last 4 hours they have been having an impressive speeds of 32.3 knots, and over the last 24 hours 28.7, it isn't enough, because IDEX Sport was making 34 knots over the last 4 hours and an unbelievable 36 average speed 36 over the last 24 hours. So they have kept gaining, and yesterday it was 166 nautical miles distance. They were ahead of the old record. Right now it is still 104.1 nautical miles, and that's only slightly, you know, if you remember the movie that I started this channel with you know, me and two friends sailing to an island from Holland, that whole trip was 81 nautical miles, you know, one way. So that weekend we sailed basically almost 200, and so I have a very exact feeling for the distance of that, and that is a very small distance, especially thinking that, you know, these boats are moving at over 20 knots. So that's, you know, roughly translates to 20 miles. And wow, right? Wow, I mean, they're literally 4.5, something like that, hours ahead. So it's the tiniest screw up now is going to put them behind the record. And, you know, even if they do fall behind the record a little bit, this particular part in the race, Idexport had perfect weather and was just absolutely killing it. And a little bit later in the race, they were a little bit slower, so maybe they could catch up again there if, you know, their weather is a little bit better there. But if we actually look at the weather now, so you can see it here in the chart, it does look pretty good. For now anyway. I mean, they have good speed, 28, they're doing 32.5 knots right now. So that's very, very good. But again, you know, average speed of 36 knots right now in the race. Idexport was doing 30.7, so slightly slower. So right now, in this particular moment, they're gaining perhaps a little bit again. But they really have to keep cracking, and the point is that for their course, of course, that downwind sailing never really great, especially with a cat. So they have to be a little bit at an angle, and as you can see here, they're probably going to have to kind of tack through this to not get it right, you know, right behind them. So they're gonna probably have to make 3-4 tacks, where I think Idexport needed to make none. And so that's going to take a little bit of time also, even though their speed generally will be good. So it's very hard to say. My personal hope is that they won't lose too many more miles. I think 24 hours from now, they're still gonna have lost, well, I mean, very likely the record will be more or less straight upon them, or slightly ahead or slightly behind. It's impossible to predict exactly, but with this particular weather, it's not really greatly in their favor. And of course, that's not counting any damage or any other unexpected things that might you know, hamper their speed also. So it has to go perfect from now on, at least for 2-3 days, and they have to build up a little bit of a lead if they're going to you know, hold on to this record. But I have to tell you, every time I check this tracker, it's like ooh, you know, it's getting more and more exciting by the hour. So I guess good luck to the team on board of Sodibu. We're keeping an eye on it, and I'll let you guys know again tomorrow what happened. Okay, let's go to the Vendee Globe then, because interesting things are going on here as well. So Charlie came through the storm really well. A bit like I told about yesterday, like some people of course are a little bit like, yeah, Jean de Cam is amazing, and I totally agree, obviously. But both Thomas Rouillant and Charlie Dalin really you know, proving their amazing skill as sailors. I mean, let's be honest, they've led this race. They have very, very fast boats, so nobody disputes the fact that they very likely just have the fastest boats in the fleet. But the weather that they have had over the last 2 days, and are still a little bit, I mean, it's gotten a bit better now, but that's some serious sailing. You've seen the images coming from Apivia. This was non-holds bar, absolutely epic storm sailing that they've been doing for basically a little over 48 hours straight. They have both sailed, in all honesty, an absolutely amazing, I would say almost flawless race so far, apart from the fact, of course, that Thomas broke his foil, but that's really not Thomas's fault. Now, when we look at this weather pattern, we see, of course, these two massive high pressure ridges right ahead of them. Could be really problematic, but as we walk through the prediction here, you'll see that actually is going to perform a little miracle for the guys, because as they head further, we see that as almost everything in the Southern Ocean, you know, tends to just continuously move to the east, and same for here. So you see that Thomas at least is probably going to be able to kind of grab just a little bit of wind from this kind of smaller low that's going around here. But or actually maybe that's a high. This longer ridge that we might have thought can cause a real problem seems to be moving east more or less at the same speed, and so it looks like both Thomas and Charlie are going to basically stay in pretty good wind, at least for Friday, for the next day. And I think, you know, if we jump ahead a little bit more, that it's going to be more or less by the end of Saturday and kind of Sunday morning, that as you can see that Charlie is finally going to really kind of hit this system, which by then will have developed more or less into this kind of longer ridge here. And so yeah, at that moment it seems like the wind might turn a little bit against them, and it will create maybe a little bit of a transition here, as you can see, where he might kind of drop out of all wind just for a little bit there, as he has to get through the center of it, but after that should be okay again. So it looks like the fact that they came through the previous storm basically giving them more or less 2 straight days of good wind, and yeah, after that, I mean, I think we all understand by now what predictions for that are running longer than 3 or 4 days are worth, which is not much. Then let's look at one of the, I think, fast developing favorites for many of you, and that goes for me exactly the same, and that of course is Armel Tripon on board of L'Occitane. And yeah, he's been really running away with it yesterday and the day before. Done an amazing job. Let's see actually, because I think that he is currently, so he's right now 1700 something nautical miles behind on Apivia. So a pretty good score there. That's of course a pretty good distance behind, essentially a little bit between 3 and 4 days behind at their current speed. So obviously the head group has a good lead, but when we look at the average speed, we see constantly here everything, especially over the last 24 hours, 14, 10, 15, 11, 14, etc. And when we look at Armel, we see 15, and on his speed right now we see 18.9. He's in the zone with some real good wind right now, and miraculously over the last, I would say, probably 52 or maybe almost 60 hours, he's just miraculously outperformed everybody else around.
Voilà. L'aube australe. Ça vaut le coup de se réveiller la nuit, hein. Là il est 1h30 du matin. Je me réveille pour aller voir les voiles. Et puis bah je tombe sur cet horizon en feu.
Like consistently outperformed everybody else around. He has found some new gear on this, let's be fair, amazing looking boat of him, and even now he's more or less quickly gaining on the 2 boats, which is Clarice Kramer on Banque Populaire, and we have Roman Antonesio on Pure Best Western head. By the way, interesting that Roman, of course, is the husband of Sam Davies, so very interesting race going on also there. I can only imagine how he's feeling, knowing that Sam of course is in Cape Town, but that's not really related to this, but still interesting to keep in the back of our minds the different relationships that are going on between the skippers, all risking their lives essentially in the Southern Ocean there. But we see that that basically Armel is outperforming both of those boats by 1 or 2 knots, so 1 or 2 miles every hour. And if he keeps going on like this, still it's going to be some time, because this lead between the next 2 boats and him is large. That's essentially about 2 days or so if they weren't moving at all. So it's not like it's a small distance. It's probably about 700 or 800 miles or so that they're ahead of him, but still he is outperforming them. He's actually at this moment right now more or less outperforming the entire head of the fleet, because the last 24 hours Apivia has done 10 knots, for example. He's doing 15. So just as before, he is rapidly gaining on the head of the fleet, literally all of them. And yeah, we'll have to see how it develops further. But I think it was almost a week and a half, 2 weeks ago that we discussed the possibility, the speed of his boat, which was kind of lauded from the beginning to be a more steady ride, to be very fast at some specific points of sail. And he ran into some trouble, had to fix some stuff, but it seems like he's gone, you know, through the trials and tribulations, has got his boat optimally performing now, has found his jive. And I would not be surprised if in maybe a week and a half or so, we see Armel somewhere comfortably in the center of the head group, and maybe even starting to, you know, crawl closer and closer to the top 5 in the race. I would not be surprised at all. Then, interesting little bit about Pip again. So Pip has passed the Cape, which I think is very cool, right? And right now, you know, a relatively slow speed still, doing 11 knots, has done, I think 11 knots, so 9 over the last 24 hours. So, you know, hence a bit her frustration, as you saw in the beginning of the show. But she's doing well, and, you know, looks like she's going to have some pretty good wind from now on. So not amazing wind, but yeah, pretty good. And yeah, she should be able to, you know, move underneath this system, or it might have already moved out of her way by the time that she get there. Not a lot of wind, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think at least for the next day and a half or so, she'll have wind, she'll have 10, 12, maybe 13 knots, very steady in direction, so that's good. After that, she might run into this, you know, several sort of areas with low wind that are right pushed up against the ice barriers. So, you know, that might be kind of tricky, because the boat simply can't avoid weather by going underneath the ice gate. So that does make it really tricky in this particular race. But, you know, again, that's 2-3 days from now, and let's not worry about that, because the fact that it's in the prediction doesn't necessarily at all mean that it's going to happen that way. Then we have, of course, Jeremy Bijou, and yeah, basically he's still not exactly past that block, but he's absolutely in the fleet now, and you know, right behind Arjen Heusela on Stark, and a little bit further down we have Sébastien Destremeux, our masked walker in Merci. And speed-wise, he's doing well, 16 knots. The rest of the group is, you know, quite a bit slower. So I think today is the day, basically. I think that by the end of the day, he'll be right next to Arjen Heusela, and he'll be in the group. So really good news for Jeremy also there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the race analysis and the predictions for today. And yeah, let's enjoy the day, and let's wait for tomorrow and see what happens. Hopefully I'll have another update for you on St. Davies as far as their timeline, because they're analyzing the boat right now. So she told me that they're probably going to know by the end of today or the beginning of tomorrow what the real timeline for the repairs is going to be. So I'm going to give you an update on that, and for the rest we'll have to wait and see. So again, thank you all for watching. Thanks, by the way, for the amazing comments on the interview yesterday. Really nice. You know, very, very flattered to hear your comments on that, and 2 more interviews are being organized as we speak, so more on that also later. Again, thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you know, if you want to know more, go to seawolfstv.com. The interview yesterday, again, very much also thanks to you backers and patrons of the channel. It really helps that you are, you know, helping me being able to do this and invest a little bit in this, and, you know, make things like that studio yesterday possible. So I hope you all really enjoyed that, and you know, if you have a few bucks to spare, help us out, improve the channel, and on seawolfstv.com you can find, you know, many different ways of doing that, including some cool hoodies and t-shirts and other stuff, because that all also helps me build the channel. So I wish you all a very good day. I'm going to go ahead now and decorate the Christmas tree that we just got before I started the show with my wife. So I'm going to have a good day with that. I hope you have a great day also. And I'll see you tomorrow with a fresh cup of coffee.